Welcome back, one and all, to the LCS Challengers League. We're here with Joshi and Magical. I'm Mazel, and we're getting into our second series of the day. CLG Faith versus FlyQuest Challengers. Another one that a little bit of different takes coming into this one for both squads as a whole. And I think, Joshi, it's important to highlight the differences.
Oh, for sure. This is definitely a spot where they are able to share 3 of the letters of the 4 in both of their acronyms, and therefore I'm expecting that it'll probably be a pretty even series. No, not even a little bit. This is going to be another series probably very similar to the one that we just saw. CLG Faith are coming in with a brand new player who was playing for them last year in Aaron, but FlyQuest Challengers, the difficulties that they have had is building up plans, and this is definitely a team that is so good mechanically that sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think, and I would like to kind of bring that roster up to highlight it as well, because I think Philip, UG as the big topside duo, right? But then Spyrax, the power of friendship as a whole, keeping this team together throughout another year, adding in Masu and Kitong. There's a lot of power, but we haven't necessarily execution at all points, Magical.
Well, maybe not at all points, but I actually am really happy with how this team has been, because it is a very young team. Like, you look at most of the parts, sure, Philip got his stint in the LCS last split and actually did really well in there, but this is a team that, for the most part, are players that just joined in, like, Academy last year or Challengers this year. So I got to give them a lot of props with what they're trying, what they're enabling. Like Masu and Kitong are definitely big surprises to me as well, because I expected Philip, UG, and Spyrax to be a good core, but Masu and Kitong have actually been outperforming the expectations I had going for them into the split.
Yeah. I feel bad for Masu too, because like there are games where they are just completely inhibited by the fact that they are playing from 100 plus ping all the time. And the fact that they still have some games where they pop off gives us a lot of excitement for what happens when they're actually come and join the team here in LA. But they're going to be going up against CLG Faith, who is a team that has been having a bit of a rough start, shall we say, so far. We know that the morale in this camp has not been quite as high as they would have otherwise liked it, and we're hoping that the introduction of Aaron coming into play AD and Sketch moving down to the intended support role will reinvigorate this team.
That's kind of what I was going to mention. It's like Sketch was brought on to be the support, to be the shot caller, so he had to play a role that he hadn't been practicing much on for quite some time. For the first couple weeks, now he actually gets to play in the role that he had originally prepared for.
Yep, and I think that's the most important thing for Faith, is that they are going to be faithful to the roster they set out with. And, you know, Joshi, I know graphic design is your passion.
It is.
And it's like he never left.
It's like he never left. I do want to share a couple of things. One, he was part of the CLG Faith roster in 2022 and then just took a very short break before being reintroduced to the roster. But my original version of this actually had him turned around with his head on Coffee's body. And I will be putting that up on Twitter later if you want to see an even more cursed version of this.
Oh, no. It's already pretty curved. But
it gets way worse.
It is a welcome to Aaron. But I also want to highlight a little bit of what we've seen from both sides of the table here, Magical.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we were highlighting Masu. The fact that he's playing on some ping, it's impressive. Some of the plays he's made. Like, I really love this play where, one, he gets a kill with the Tiamat, but then the flash over the wall just to cement the kill. It shows that he's still able to play despite the ping, knows how to play around his team, what he needs to do in order to really facilitate his job, especially in the late game. His team fights are really where I think he has had the most power for the team, and going up against Aaron, someone who we have to see how he's going to really fit this mold, having played with the Faith team last year during the Proving Grounds, but having to kind of show himself again, especially because he was brought on such last minute, and how he can perform with Sketch having transitioned from ADC to support.
Yeah, the bot lane shenanigans, or I guess Magical's term, shenaniganeries, will be rampant. I think Aaron versus Masu is going to be a big sticker for me in this one, especially see how Masu does. I want to see is the meta go down in the bot lane, if they're going to be picking what we've seen consistently, Joshi, or if we see any differences, and where comfort comes out for Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to note that Aaron has not been idle during the past couple of months between, their previous tenure with CLG Faith. They did play for St. Louis University, and they were also playing for Team Ambition, which played in the most recent qualifiers in order to play against the teams that will get relegated towards the end. So we will see a little bit more from them. It's not like they're out of practice. We're hoping that they can reinvigorate this roster and give them a much stronger opportunity here into FlyQuest Challengers.
Well, we do have FlyQuest Challengers versus CLG Faith, game number 1, ready and rocking to go. So guys, take it away.
All right, let's get ready for our second series. And for everyone out there, you know, all the viewers that came in from the LAC, if you're still around, make sure you temper expectations when coming to these two teams, because they have very different identities and goals that they want to accomplish going to this. Challenger teams usually are the ones that you're expecting to look to try to contest for the LCS positions in the near future, while the provincial teams, CLG Faith in this case, is more about how they can grow in the long terms, what they can do when they get this practice against these players that might be slightly above them or be in a position where they might be in the LCS soon, so they can be in that same position maybe a year or two down the line.
Yeah, and so we're looking for the players that have big opportunities for growth. And one of the players on CLG Faith that we are particularly excited about is NXI, a player that we were surprised wasn't picked up and basically didn't play during 2022 on a competitive team. And so we will see whether or not they're able to compete with Yuji, who has been one of the only players who I think made our most valuable prospect list in both spring and summer. And now with Aaron coming in, it is again a very rookie bottom lane going up against Masu, who we are excited about, but is also hampered by the fact they are playing from not LA.
And looking at the draft so far, we have an early Udyr picked. I don't imagine that would be for Serenok, even if we did see the mid Udyr last game by Insanity, mostly because Serenok is much more of an artillery mage sort of player, likes to play more control styles, while Udyr fits in with NXI. If you think to when NXI was back in, I'm trying to remember what team he was a part of back last year.
FlyQuest.
Yeah, 2 years ago, FlyQuest. He was on FlyQuest and got replaced by Yuji, which is also a nice little grudge match that he has going on here. But Udyr was one of the big champions that he played for most of the split and looked really good on.
Yeah. And I also really like the fact that Serenok is hovering one of the traditional characters that they are known for in the Xerath, one of the better Xerath players that we've seen come through, going up against Spyrax on the Azir. There's definitely an opportunity for CLG to have some crazy range with which to play, and makes it very difficult for FlyQuest to actually get in range for some of the engage tools, right? Yuji will have to be really inventive in order to actually get on top of Ezreal and Xerath.
Same with Spyrax, too, because we've seen a lot of amazing plays out of this once collegiate player back in 2021 when he played with, I believe, Maryville at the time. And now that he's been on FlyQuest Academy last year and now Challengers this year, Azir has been one of those champions I think that he has put some of the best performances, at least some of the best highlights in his career on.
Yeah, it's definitely a character that this guy has become known for, and Jalal Spyrax will be looking to kind of strut his stuff a little bit. If he can take a large enough lead during the laning phase against the Xerath, it will really alleviate some of the issues that you have later, but that's not just on Spyrax. One of the things that we always say about the FlyQuest Challengers is that it's not just the mid lane, you also are playing against Yuji. These two players play together so much when they are actually trying to dominate a laning phase, and Xerath, while they do have a ton of range, does need to walk up to auto attack to replenish their mana, and also doesn't have any escape tools. They really need to hit the one stun, so they have to be on point with trying to stun out Wukong whenever they're trying to get in.
Yeah, because the lane phase shouldn't be too hard for Xerath. It's usually going to be more when you get later on, like level 6, level 7, because not only can Wukong get in range, but then you can also have the Shurima shuffle out of Spyrax that's going to make it very dangerous. But let's focus away from the mid lane. We spent a lot of time on these two collegiate mid laners, since Serenok also played on Bay State last collegiate lull. We look at how the lanes have actually been the bans. We have top lane bans towards Philip, taking away Jace, one of his most played champions, but also a lot of bot lane focus onto Sketch, saying we are going to make it difficult for you in your first series that we are going to get of you with Aaron on what you want to pair up with that Ezreal.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because Ezreal is a very self-sufficient character, so you can play a lot of different things with it, and again, I mean, people are going towards the Gnar into the Cassante. Not a huge fan of this matchup on the Gnar side, but if you are just more comfortable on the Gnar, then it can work out, and Philip will lock it in. But Sketch, again, they've been playing AD for CLG Faith for this season thus far. They are coming back, and so it's been very interesting, right? I've heard rumors that they basically don't get to have super effective scrims all that often because they are trying to split time between making sure that Sketch is a strong enough AD to actually play in the league, but also they need to give him games on support. And so splitting all that time has made the CLG Faith roster have a little bit more difficulty historically.
And which is why, looking at the future, we should expect a lot more strength coming in from CLG Faith, at least when it comes to their lane phase, like what we looked at with FlyFam, how their lane phases are some of their strongest points. So we see these highlights that they have as a team, as a roster. And looking at this game, and what Sketch wants to pair up with Aaron in his first game here in this LCS Challengers League, looks like they want a bit of an engage in the cow.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a Duo King special for sure, as Sketch brings it out as a counterpick to the Nautilus. I'm expecting they're actually going to leave Aaron a lot to their own devices, and that will really kind of give us some information on how Aaron is looking to be playing out the rest of the season, because if you can still hold yourself up against Masu and Keekong, it will give you a lot of freedom, whereas the way that NXI has oftentimes operated to a lot of success is they were able to bring supports along with them everywhere that they went. And if you just have an Alistar to give you some guaranteed crowd control, you can blow up anybody you come across.
I mean, you look at CLG Faith, and they got a beefy frontline. Cassante, Udyr, Alistar. And then you have a lot of the skill shot that, poke from range in Xerath and Ezreal. But with that, you have optimal targets. There we go. I can speak English. In both Wukong and Azir to look for the backline to make sure they can catch Serenok, especially someone who's very mobile out of position.
Yeah, and so it will really depend on how well CLG Faith is able to survive the laning phases. We said that with FlyFam, one of the big opportunities that they were always able to build was during the lane. CLG Faith has been having a bit more trouble in the laning phase thus far, and so if they can survive that, then we will start looking towards the later stages of the game where they can do a little bit better. And so FlyQuest already trying to create pressure early on and see if they can push NXI out of their own jungle.
Well, and this is where we got to bring the conversation to NXI. Playing against his replacement on FlyQuest Academy in UG, now obviously the Challengers roster. He's got probably a vendetta. He didn't really, like you said, he didn't play on any Academy team last year. Didn't get on a Challengers team this year.
It was a crime, honestly, last year. I was very surprised that nobody picked him up.
I mean, even still this year, he's on the CLG Faith, sure, not putting up the best of numbers, but it is a team that is professional. They are looking to show their highlights, show that they have what it takes to combat against these Challenger players, these players that are either former veterans or upcoming stars and rookies.
Yeah, we've said this a lot. Philip, UG, Spyrex have played together for a year on the FlyQuest Academy roster last year. Now, they basically said, we want to continue playing together, and oh, look at that. NXI not going to be starting with the Phoenix stance. Oftentimes, what you'll be seeing with Udyrs is they will be starting at the Raptors, where you can start with the Phoenix and just beat it up that way, but instead going to be going with the Tiger stance, and that gives you a very interesting opportunity to be very aggressive and potentially go for tons of early damage.
Hook lands on the Sketch, but that's going to be a headbutt away. And alright, anything you can do, I can do better. But it will be Masu and Keekong gaining control, probably getting the level 2 experience lead as well over Aaron and Sketch.
Yeah. Oh, this is really brutal for Bajani. This is a very tough spot for the wave to actually end up. This is a perfect opening coming out from Philip. As they find another hook.
Man, these hooks from Keekong constantly landing and getting a lot of damage onto Aaron, making his debut here in the LCS Challengers League absolutely brutal.
Yeah. And oh, Philip is just dancing around Bajani as well. We should be expecting Philip to do that. They have been a pretty good duelist, but now Yuji looking around, trying to find NXI. Spotted him.
Has spotted him. To be able to take that blast gun over the wall. NXI, no smite. It's going to be Yuji jumping on top of him.
Oh, it's the entire camp.
Yeah, I think it was all taken by Yuji. So NXI, unfortunately, he's going to waddle away with his tail between his legs, having gotten nothing for the play.
And that is absolutely brutal. As a thank you, Axeman, coming through.
1K channel points. All right.
100K on FlyQuest.
I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's a lot of channel points coming through. Well, good luck to Axeman. I think it's a fairly safe bet. And again, Yuji coming in and taking away a ton of these camps away from NXI really puts one of their star players on the back foot very early on a build on this Udyr that tends to need to kind of snowball a little bit.
Well, I mean, you look at the lane phase, you look at mid lane, bot lane, fully controlled by FlyQuest Challengers. It makes it so easy for Yuji on something like Wukong to walk up and say, all right, I'm going to take away some of these camps. I'm going to make it difficult. This is why NXI had to forfeit completely the bottom quadrant of the map and go towards the top side. I would have even liked to see him play super aggressively and having gone for the blue buff before Scuttle Crab. But honestly, that's just, it's one of those things that you don't know because you don't know the resets that UG had if he actually went for the blue buff or not.
Yeah, I mean, they got the ward coming out for FlyQuest as well, and also Spyrex had enough control having teleported back into the wave that it's so dangerous for anyone to try and do anything. And so this is, again, one of the places where we have been saying that CLG Fate has been kind of struggling a little bit, is a lot of these laning phases. They've been going up against some really tough opponents in terms of who they can actually bully around. And so far, FlyQuest Challengers has started to prove that they are another one of these teams that you really have to give some respect to. FlyQuest Challengers' problem has never been their individual play. It's always been about how well they can make plans.
As we have a lull, you know, everything going really quiet. Hey, we got a nice tweet. I just hope both teams have fun. You know what, Katie? I hope so too. I hope so too.
If you ever wondered who has written all the crazy awesome scripts for LCS over the years, Katie Grippney. Big fan.
Me too. I think she's amazing. But we can talk about her forever and ever. Let's talk about this game instead, because we have limited time while the game is being played. But then again, it's not like there's much happening at the moment either.
I mean, that's good.
Ooh,
okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Serenok, he might get a solo kill. That's going to be Emperor's Divide, but without mana for Serenok, he can't look for anything further.
Darn. That was actually really big from Serenok, right? If you can start taking control of this lane early on, Azir doesn't have a whole lot of recourse. Spyrex has not been able to push him out, and he hasn't had a whole lot of help from Yuji either, because Yuji's been focusing on keeping NXI out of the game. So, I mean, Serenok's doing a pretty good job. This is a very tough matchup for the Azir to normally play, but
yeah, Serenok
is winning it.
This is what we expect, though, from the lane phase, right? That the Xerath is going to get a little bit of control against Azir, at least until, like, level 6. Though having used the Emperor's Divide defensively for Spyrex makes it a little bit more difficult for Yuji to look for that play that normally would punish Xerath at this moment.
Yeah, and pushing Spyrex out of lane or pushing him super low does mean that CLG have control over this Mountain Dragon. Again, our provisional team's doing pretty well so far in some of the early games that we've seen. This is actually a pretty big win coming out for a CLG Fate.
And this is what you like to see from these provisional teams. They have these mechanics that they know what they need to do into the lane phase, but it's always the tricky part of how they transition that into the mid to late game. What they do in order to make sure they've set up lanes so they're strong, they position properly in fights. Because a lot of these challenger teams, they've gotten more than enough practice with one another, especially when you look at a team like FlyQuest Challengers. 3 of these members played with each other through nearly the entirety of 2022.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but Sketch also just tweeted, my headset mic stopped working right before the match, :DDDDDDD. I really hope that got fixed, because that would be a pretty tough thing to play through. Yes, they are in person with a bunch of their players, but not everybody, and so suddenly, we'll see. I mean, they're doing a good job thus far, but imagine playing without comms.
Yeah, that would be really, really rough. And speaking of rough, NXI having a pretty rough time trying to get back against UG.
Gosh. They're playing on their phone.
Wait, what?
Comms. Yeah, Sketch is using Discord on his phone.
Bad lad.
That is actually kind of crazy that they're doing as well as they have been. That is such a different experience to try and play with people who aren't on their primary comms. This is giving even more opportunity to CLG Faith to kind of give them, sing their praises a little bit.
Oh, though, Pajani. Looks like Yuji, his first place you want to look, he just gets the ghost out of Pajani. Nothing too severe. Right now, even though there have been plays attempted, it has been quite a quiet early game. There's some leads here and there, like we look at the jungle match of UG versus NXI. And NXI going for that demonic embrace build path that we've seen out of a lot of Udyrs. Which even then is actually still a head scratcher of why he didn't start Phoenix Dance, but we can get into that whole other time.
It's okay. I mean, if you're playing without the help of anybody leashing, like, it does allow you to cycle your red buff relatively quickly. So we will see whether or not CLG Faith can use the fact that this quiet early game should be favoring them to build up more opportunities later on in the game. Remember that Xerath will outrange everything in the game, and Aaron's going to be really hard to actually attack later just because of how much mobility they are able to have.
It's all about the coordination around team fights, right? It's how you come together, especially with a new player on your team. Sketch finally getting the role that he had been practicing before the season, I'd expected to play going into the season. Like you talked about, having to split time during scrims in both ADC and support, that kind of made it a little bit more difficult. But right now, it's not too bad for CLG Faith. This is actually kind of what I want to see out of a professional team and how they're able to answer back, look for some plays. Even Bajani here on Cassante, one of his best performing champions in this top lane, where we've seen Bajani in their win that they have was a lot off the back of how well he played Cassante.
Yeah. But I also want to take a real quick look down at Aaron, who is this newcomer that we have been looking at a fair amount. And I'm actually looking at his match history right now, and in their last 50 games, not a single game of Ezreal has been played. It's definitely a bit of a departure from what we normally see from this guy. We've been seeing a lot of Kalista, a lot of Caitlyn, bits and pieces of things like Sivir and the Varus, and so I'm curious what the decision here is, especially when you play with subs. We've always praised people like, yeah, make them as comfortable as possible. Do not necessarily put any expectations on how well that they are going to be playing just because they're the new guy. They aren't necessarily going to be as confident playing with a new group of people who have an established way of playing already. I feel like this is their way of saying, hey, Aaron, we're going to let you do your own thing the entire game. Let's put some faith into our other members, and then from there we'll be good.
Okay. So we've already established that this slow early game is favoring CLG Faith. It gets them more options to scale up, buy some of these items. But for FlyQuest, when should we expect any kind of play? Yuji has, at least early into the game, gotten control over NXI, but look at it now. Even if there's a 10 CS difference between the two at the moment, it was a lot larger for quite some time at about 20. So seeing Yuji look for this play into the top lane could work out, especially with no Ghost. But Bajani, nice dash away. That's going to be the Cyclone huge. Try to get a double knock-up on Bajani so they can pick up first blood.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it doesn't happen soon, it's going to be really tough for FlyQuest to try.
Oh, we got it answered really quick, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we did. And so now CLG, they're taking control of the bottom half of the map a little bit. NXI will recover a little bit more farm, but Sketch trying to create a little bit more pressure. But this is definitely a spot where FlyQuest, it feels as though one of their major advantages was their ability to play around this early mid-game when Yuji hits level 6. Level 8 now has a Divine Sunder, incredibly difficult to fight against them.
Oh yeah, NXI has Ghost, nice not stun. Flash. It was a nice stun. I was looking at NXI, I thought he was going to flash Bear Slap, well, Ram Slap, if you want to call it that nowadays. But so seeing Ghost, I was like, oh, a little disappointed. I didn't get to go flash Bear Slap.
It is what it is, and now we drop the Rift Herald in the mid lane, but NXI and Sketch are already here to prevent moving towards the dragon.
That should be a crash, though. Plate picked up by Yuji, and then the headbutt hover is onto Yuji. He doesn't have Cyclone. That's a lot of damage onto the monkey, so they can pick up the kill for the board man, looking for the suit of armor as well. And he's not going to be able to dive his way out of there. It's 2 kills for Fly Faith. Fly Faith, what am I saying? CLG Faith. As Pyrex 1-2. Oh, doesn't have the last one.
I mean, the flash was too late. He takes the damage, just wasn't quite enough. But this is big for CLG. They grab themselves a second dragon, this one the Chemtech dragon. And so CLG Faith, one of the things that we were saying about them was that they were a little bit better at making plans than a lot of teams. And that's a big struggle that FlyQuest challengers have had thus far. They know 2 people are here. You saw them.
And Yuji doesn't even have Cyclone, so there's really no reason to enter that brush unless, of course, you think that you're going to turn quickly enough.
Yeah, I mean, but with no ultimate, that just feels like a really odd mistake coming out from the side of FlyQuest challengers, and CLG Faith will very happily take any kind of win that allows this game to go a little bit longer. And so far, I mean, the fact that they are just pressuring and creating space around the dragon, and look how much vision control they have created on the bottom side of the map, they are very happy with the state of affairs, because Aaron, the one person who will need to be strong to actually deal with Yuji and Philip later, is going to have freedom to farm.
Hey, look, I'm going to say this now. I have faith. CLG faith, come on. Second W this season. I believe in you.
Oh, nice
like
flash.
that. Yeah, Serenok. See, like that. Let's go Bay State mid laner.
There you go. Coming through. Lots of small advantages starting to accrue, but the gold lead is still in favor of FlyQuest Challengers and XI.
XI, though, has a level over UG at this point. With Demonic, it's going to be difficult as we look bot lane. True Shot Barrage flashed away by Masu, but Sketch is not necessarily a target that's going to be easy to kill. With the Chain of Corruption in the backline, getting heal onto Aaron. Aaron is confident, though, in this matchup and making sure the Faith are rewarded with Aaron looking for one more. It's a double kill for the newly duo bot lane.
What a great play coming out from Aaron and Sketch. Sketch is looking for the big fight. UG will be able to pick one up on the backside, surely.
Yeah. You sacrifice yourself if you're Sketch there. Aaron now gets out of there. He holds on to the 2 kills.
Phillip.
We go to the top lane, all out onto Phillip with the dash back in. It's a double bounce Goomba stomp. Bajani, though, getting the slow. Bajani, it's his Kazante, and he's not king! It's Phillip!
Phillip comes out. He gets the last bit of damage. The Sheen proc is there. Serenok not able to snipe out the Gnar. I mean, this
so
is when,
close. What a play, though, from Phillip, right?
Yeah, this is when the Gnar is supposed to be at its strongest. I'm impressed that we even saw that gone for, but now CLG Faith, look at this. Masu tries to come back and get the damage, but I mean, Sketch is just zoning so much, not allowing any of those extra auto attacks, even with the arrow landing. This isn't an AP virus. You're just looking for your next round of cooldowns, and they are able to pick it up, save just enough damage on it for the kill to go over towards the 80 carry. Aaron and Sketch already having a fantastic start to this game.
And, you know, right there, Sketch, he dies. He dies to the decoy, unfortunately. But this top lane play, I thought Bajani had it.
Yeah. The big thing that I have to be impressed with from Phillip is he waits as long as possible, making sure that his hop cannot get interrupted. And then from here, it's just a small sidestep. That Q hitting would have been the kill for Bajani, but Phillip, with all the movement speed, keeps himself just out of range.
Just barely. Nicely done from Phillip. This is why we saw him have that success when he had a stint in the LCS. And now, wait a minute. Sketch finds Byrex and Yuji. The Cyclone interrupted and the knockback. As Sketch is tanky. He's not someone you actually want to jump on. Not when he has already unchained himself, as NXI got low, dodging away from the chains of corruptions. Everyone's going to make it out of there scot-free-ish.
Wow, what a wild fight. Everybody coming around the backside, and so we're going to get another opportunity for that here pretty soon, as another dragon is going to be spawning in a minute and a half. Everybody will have their ult.
Here's the last one.
He gets it!
Sniper, no sniping, Serenok!
Damn, Serenok really starting to come alive. You give him one of these iconic champions, and he is able to come up with these big wins.
Perfect timing on the tweet, too.
Yeah, let's go. Phillip's here.
Okay, Phillip's here, waiting for that shocking orb. Yeah. Phillip, though, he's realizing, he's like, okay, look, I'm not killing you.
Nah, I mean, there's no mana on Serenok, but still, there's just not an opportunity for a solo dive, especially without the Mega. And so, CLG, they're down a little bit of gold, but it feels like they are the ones taking a little bit more control of the game. And so as we get towards this next dragon, we'll have to see how well CLG are going to be able to leverage the poke that they've built up. Remember, they can play these fairly slowly, waiting for Aaron and Serenok to get all the damage necessary down, but they are also on a timer because Phillip should be winning the side lane and creating enough push.
That's where you saw pretty much the entirety of the gold discrepancy between the two teams, was that Phillip has a 2,000 gold lead over Bajani, 1,000 for Yuji over NXI, but then it's made up for by mid and bot lane of CLG Faith to make it so it's not quite as far behind. As everyone's grouping around this mid lane, looking for control, it is the third dragon that will spawn, and CLG Faith, that gives them a lot of power to lord over Fly challengers to make sure that they are actually the ones in control of the map.
It's the Rift Herald being spawned, so it will be a trade of objectives.
Serenok was able to get the stun. It's still the attempt. They've got the knock-up with the depth charge. Serenok trying to get away as Masu does not connect the chain of corruption. This might secure for NXI, but a huge Emperor's Defied rips apart the Faith, and Aaron running from Yuji. NXI could not take anybody. It is a near wipe clean from FlyC.
And the flanking Varus was huge, creating so much pressure on the backside. You could tell Serenok and Aaron were unsure which direction they needed to go. Where do you kite? And does he get the kill? One more?
One more. Oh, the sidestep! 100 ping be damned!
Doesn't matter. Great predictions coming out. Masu coming up big in that fight, but it's absolutely crazy. We still see the gold lead going over to FlyQuest, but there's a third dragon picked up by CLG Faith. And again, watch Masu coming into this fight, right? You have all the front line on the top side in order to try and screen out, but as soon as Masu gets in, creating so much damage, is able to hit basically anybody that they actually want, and the battle lines completely collapse.
I also love that Masu Ascensu was just melee the whole time. Because nobody expected to have Varus on that flank like you talked about. So like, wait a minute, when did he get here?
We're just hanging out, we're just chilling, and Masu, I was worried that being cut out from the rest of the team would give CLG an opportunity to win that fight, but was not enough. 5,000 gold going over towards FlyQuest Challengers, and we'll see if everything that CLG Faith has given up will be enough, because they have a dragon spawning in 3 minutes that could give them a massive bonus to how well they play. Both Cassante and Udyr love having access to the Cloud Dragon.
Okay, I'm looking for the play here. Kyutong Yuji will make it out pretty easily.
They're losing control of the jungle here for CLG Faith. Serenok caught out a little bit.
But Yuji is looking like they're going to be a split fight, or is it? It's just going to be Serenok. Flashed over the wall, but it was too little too late.
Ooh, yeah, can't flash empowered auto attacks, and Yuji will be able to pick that one up. Little brutal there, and this is one of the spots where CLG Faith, can start running into all of these problems, right? When you start losing control of the map, they don't have an obvious or consistent go button.
Well, this is also what we talked about with a lot of these provisional teams when they start to struggle. It's always around these mid-game team fights. The pick onto Philip attempted. He's about to go mini, flashed away, but they've got the charge, they've got the damage. No escaping this time, and it was a shutdown sniped away by Aaron.
I mean, honestly, it might have been necessary to keep the dragon alive. 100% worthwhile to give that to the AD carry on the far side of the map, but they've lost total control of the bottom side of the jungle, and so FlyQuest will just be able to come back out. That was a couple of, big spells invested, especially in the all-out, but they should be back up by the time the dragon actually spawns. And FlyQuest, as they start to create space on the top side of the map, can also start to look for this upcoming Barret.
I like that buffer, though, from Bajani there with the Gnar ult.
Yeah.
He was able to use all-out to make sure they could stay on top of Philip.
Yeah, I like the fact that Philip was holding the ult for so long, because he saw that NXI was just running at him with the potential unstoppable on the Boar stance, and there's more unstoppable coming out from Bajani. It's so hard as Philip to make sure that you can get both of them.
And now, even with that pick, it doesn't really put the Faith back into this game in control in any sort of state. They're trailing quite some. Even if they're able to buy some items, like look at Aaron, the Var Quick Blades being the second item.
Yeah.
That's even more skill shots that he's going to sling out every single fight. But it's really about what happens around your own jungle and your own vision, right? FlyQuest, they are supreme. They have the supremacy across the rift.
They're taking total control of this top side of the jungle. Remember, CLG can choose to play for the Cloud Soul in about a minute.
Aww. This is like their own little kingdom. It's like they have this little town right around the Raptor Brush, and they're like, this is the only place we feel safe.
Yeah, and look at this. They can 100% do this. Azir does so much damage to this objective. He just sits the soldiers. It gets all the bonus attack speed.
They have no idea either. They haven't even sniffed it out. Oh. Okay. Oh, nice. There we go. Now it's spotted out. That was a good use of the Rider of the Arcane by Serenok.
But now FlyQuest, they do need to get a back in, and they did get Serenok's ult out of that. So as they start moving back over towards the dragon once again, Philip creating pressure in the bottom lane by pushing out this wave. FlyQuest are going to be in time. They will be able to take control of this part of the map, and so Serenok will have to teleport in order to actually be relevant with his poke early on.
And it's going to be the TPN. We'll be right back with the team, like you said, needing to be here. Though it is only a single dragon. I know you want to get the soul, and a soul's a soul. I always say that. But it is only the first dragon that would be picked up by FlyQuest Challengers. It could be dicey here. When you're behind 5,500 gold, you have no control of the river at all. Though Yuji Be chased away by NXI. Still got to be careful, like you said. That is a great flank angle from Philip right there. And you can see the engage attempted onto Sketch, but it is the Alistar. You have to be careful. He can take up a lot of damage. Trying to get back towards the team, having to flash in order to do so.
Oh, Philip's full angry now. We'll see if this is a timer that CLG Faith can play around. Philip wants to make sure that they pick up the dragon before he loses it.
Yeah, there's no way you can fight around this if you're CLG Faith. You don't want to enter this zone, not especially while it's up. No, it was too early. Right at the Arcane, not there either. It's only the first dragon picked up FlyC. Not the worst thing in the world for CLG Faith, but still, it means it's full control by the FlyFaith squad. And looking for Aaron, the flash, but nice flash away from Aaron. Unfortunately, Serenok is the sacrificial lamb in the skirmish.
And he's the big one necessary to prevent FlyQuest from actually going for the Baron. Philip on the far side of the map, creating pressure, can move freely, whereas Bajani has to make sure that he stays around to make sure that Philip can't split push anything, and the Little Gnar coming over to try and make sure they can find another flank.
Well, should be in time as well. Johnny might have TP, but the Baron's down to 50%. You can see how quickly it is being burned down. NXI with only Ghost. There's no flash over the pit to get inside. Aaron sniped too early. Or is it? Hello!
Hello, the substitute comes in and just steals you a Baron to keep the game going. That's pretty darn good right there. We've been seeing so many steals over the past couple of days. We made an entire montage for it. Now Aaron adding himself to that list, and that is incredibly demoralizing for FlyQuest challengers, because they know they have been struggling to consistently make plays in these fights. They have to look for inventive angles over and over again. But Aaron, you said it was early. Where's Yuji's smite in this?
The smite's early. Yeah, the smite's early. Watch. That's why I thought if you look at this, it's coming in. Oh no, it's not. It was the arrow. It was the piercing arrow that did too much damage. It was the piercing arrow that did too much damage. And now we go back to live. There's going to be a TP from Spyra looking to save Philip's life. That's going to be the knockback coming in as Bajani has to run away. Depth charge on NXI. They don't have a turret to run to either. NXI taking a lot of damage. That's going to be the flash jam, double Gnar ult, so they can pick up Udyr. And oh dear, Sketch, you're in a world of hurt. You might be a big beefy cow, but you're delaying the inevitable, which is your own slaughter.
There you go. That was a play that CLG Faith were trying to make happen, but they're the ones who get caught out. I love the fact that you see Sketch trying to buffer the headbutt, knock Philip away, but it's not in time. The flash ultimate goes off instantly, and now multiple turrets are going to fall. Even though CLG were the ones who pick up the Baron, they're not able to make another play afterwards. And oh, what is this?
This happened while we were in the replay. Yeah, it's the problem with Xerath. When Wukong jumps on top of you, you don't really get a fight. You need to keep everyone at more than our arm's length away.
Yeah, when you get a Monkey Man on top of you, there's not a whole lot left to do. Is there a teleport coming through? No, they're just trying to snipe out Spyrax. Not enough damage.
Not enough damage, unfortunately. Chasing him away, but the damage has already been done. The inhibitor is fallen in mid lane. So for CLG Faith, you know, it's strange. This game has remained about 6,000 gold behind for the last, 6-7 minutes.
Yeah.
And so for
the Baron was a lot of that gold.
It was a lot of that gold. But the thing is, Faith are still a team that want to scale up, get more items under their belts. And it's not like this game is just over just yet. Of course, we expect it to be a FlyQuest Challengers game. Look at this. They still have Baron on Aaron, one of their most crucial members at this point.
Yeah, and they need to start picking up some of these objectives, right? There's not objective bounties, surprisingly enough, but still, opening up the map, getting that little bit of gold is crucial for their ability to continue scaling. And it's also worth calling out, Johnny?
Johnny, though, early tanky, looks for the fight onto Yuji, double knockup, so they can try to see if they can chip him down. All out use as well, looking for the dive in the back line with the Cyclone coming in. Yuji's still alive, but they're going to be able to pick up the kill onto Pajani, while everyone else now, where's the snipe, where's the damage? Keatong, he does not die, and the Emperor's Defied knocked back in NXI as they look to take down one more. There is nobody that fell on FlyQuest Challengers. The two carries remain. They fight back, but the flash from Masu on top of Serenok, he's not letting him get out of range. Aaron dodges a hook, but how much damage can he actually land as everyone is chasing him? Spyrex, he's got the shoulders, he's got the damage, he's got the support here, and as long as they can continue to dodge these skill shots, it might be enough. But diving back in, Aaron behind, couldn't get it, and that is the game for FlyQuest Challengers.
FlyQuest Challengers, I mean, they just slowly win all of these engagements going up against CLG Faith. CLG, NXI put behind so early on. Well, we had bright spots from Serenok, from Aaron. Unfortunately, it's just not quite enough. FlyQuest Challengers improve their score yet again. And 6-4 at the start of the day, now 7-4, trying to fight back up with the rest of the Challengers teams.
God, the top of the standings is definitely looking very close. And props to CLG Faith. Again, provisional team, we have different expectations when going and looking at these teams. The fact that they're able to make this game a lot closer than we initially would have even thought, especially with how far NXI had gotten put in the early game, props to them.
Yeah, I mean, the game went a lot longer than I think a lot of people were expecting based on some of the early pathing decisions from FlyQuest. My big question for FlyQuest coming up next has been the same that we've seen for a while. This is a team that you should be expecting to beat, and so the challenge isn't necessarily to win, it's making sure that you can play as cleanly as possible. I would love to see Yuji be a little bit more proactive with his ganks around level 6 instead of waiting until level 8.
Well, they still pick up the dub, so we'll have to see if they can improve going into Game 2. For now, we're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll bring back Mazel for our halftime show. Make sure you stay tuned.